Sega and Nintendo are best friends, so it's natural to see Sonic and Mario in the same game, playing sports together or fighting side by side. But back during the 90s and 2000s, the mere thought of Sega and Nintendo characters appearing in each other's games was sacrilege. Back then, Nintendo and Sega were direct competitors, and yet despite this rivalry, a recent discovery has surprised, puzzled, and amused the gaming community. In 2000, a racing game called Sega GT was released for Sega's Dreamcast. It was considered an unremarkable game, and for the past 21 years, it had been largely forgotten until recently. On September 18, 2021, a video game preservationist who goes by the Twitter handle CombyLaurent1 discovered something odd in Sega GT after they shared a pre-release prototype of the game to the Hidden Palace, which is a video game preservation community. In the playable build of the prototype, there is an option you can select called Internet, which will bring you to a debug menu that allows you to select any racetrack. In the final retail version of the game, the Internet option allowed you to view leaderboards and upload/download ghost car data for time trials. While in the debug level select screen, choose racetrack number 38, which is mysteriously titled Sony GT2 Course. Then after selecting your vehicle and car settings, you will see this. Luigi. It's unknown why Mario's brother is here, in a Sega racing game of all places, but you can see him just awkwardly standing there, holding a checkered flag and a stopwatch. Notably, he doesn't have the letter L on his hat, which may have been done to avoid legal trouble with Nintendo, who is litigious and extremely protective of their properties. So legally, it can be argued that this isn't Luigi, but rather, a character that just looks like Luigi. Upon further investigation, Luigi has no collision detection and can be seen moving back and forth during the countdown. Once the countdown ends, he lowers the flag, but will immediately slump over and freeze. He doesn't move during the entirety of the race, and will just stand there, staring at the ground. It's like he's ruminating about why he's even here. His presence here has certainly confounded the gaming community, but many think that Luigi was just a placeholder character, or an inside joke amongst the game's developers. Perhaps the devs figured it would be funny to include a Nintendo property in a Sega game, just like how they referenced one of Sony's games in Sega GT. This race course is apparently based on Gran Turismo 2's Pikes Peak Hills Climb rally track, which itself is based on a real-world location in Colorado, USA. If you look at this minimap in Sega GT, it seems to be a part of Sony's Pikes Peak Hill Climb mirrored together. That would explain why this Sega GT track is called Sony GT2 or Sony Gran Turismo 2. Sega GT was directly competing against Gran Turismo 2, which came out a year earlier and was a surprising success on Sony's PlayStation 1. As for the Sony GT2 course itself, the skybox and cliffsides look similar to the game's desert level called Deep Rock Road. It also resembles Mario Kart 64's Choco Mountain, which may explain Luigi's presence in Sega GT. But why did the devs include Luigi and not his more popular brother, Mario? Furthermore, according to automobile website Jalopnik, Sega GT didn't include rally racing when it launched, so the inclusion of this off-road circuit is kind of interesting. And then there's the fact that the racetrack itself looks like some kind of demonic baby. Sega GT was co-developed by Sega and another Japanese game company called TOS, which developed the Game & Watch Gallery series, as well as other games for Nintendo's platforms. So perhaps TOS is responsible for Luigi being in Sega GT's prototype. Unfortunately, Luigi is not in the final retail versions of Sonic GT or its Xbox sequel, Sega GT 2002. The prototype was never even supposed to be seen or played by the public. Additionally, the prototype is dated June 15, 2000, which would mean that it was in existence 2 months before the game's launch in the US, and 4 months after the game launched in Japan. The reward for beating a video game is usually the simple self-satisfaction of completing something. Some people may want to see how a game's story ends, while others may play to overcome a challenge. But sometime around 1992, a game company called Active Enterprises actually offered players a chance to win $104,000 to anyone who could beat a particular level in one of their games titled Action 52. The NES game was a compilation of 52 various minigames, with one of them being a side-scrolling shooter called Ooze. For those that could actually beat Ooze's 6th level, skillful players would be greeted with this message. Congratulations, you may have just won. Take a photograph of this screen and send it to the address listed in the rules and regulations. Your personal code, 783H9J0P2R4A2C7S. Imagine being a kid, just minding your own business and playing the game for fun, when all of a sudden, you see this message pop up. You would never see something like this nowadays, especially for just beating a level in a video game. According to a Wikipedia page about Action 52, players who could beat Ooze's 6th level would be entered into a drawing for a chance to win $104,000. Alternatively, players could win $52,000 in cash, plus a scholarship with the same value. Now, if this sounds too good to be true, then that's because it is. The problem was that Ooze was unbeatable since the game would crash after completing level 2, so no one actually won the prize, and the contest was eventually cancelled. The fact that there was even a cash prize to see who could beat a level in a video game shows just how terribly difficult games were back then. What's more, the code that's displayed in the congratulations screen is the exact same in all copies of the game, so it wasn't actually a unique personal code as the game claims. Furthermore, according to the cutting room floor, all of the game's text is in plain ASCII, so the code can easily be seen in a hex editor. But that's not all. The entirety of Action 52 was pretty much broken. It was plagued with numerous issues, like glitches, terrible controls, ugly graphics, and repetitive gameplay. There was also the fact that the game used copyrighted songs like It Takes Two by Raw Bass and DJ Easy Rock. At some point, an improved version of Action 52 was released that fixed the crashing issues, so all levels in Ooze could now be completed. However, the congratulations screen no longer popped up after completing level 6. The only way to see the message was by hacking or emulation. Action 52 is considered one of the worst games of all time. In fact, according to Giant Bomb's page of the game, many people speculated that the game was just a scam to trick parents into thinking that they were getting a good deal. What's more, Active Enterprises tried to turn one of Action 52's featured games, Cheetah Man, into a big franchise, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That failed. Oh, and the game cost $200. A user named Care contacted me about a crying phantom baby that can be heard in sleeping dogs. This myth has been circulating around the internet as early as September 30th, 2012, just 1 month after the game's launch. A YouTube user named Aki Freezer is credited as the first person to discover the crying baby sound, or at least publicly report it. When you go to your North Point apartment, which is the first safe house you get in the beginning of the game, you can hear various noises like NPCs talking, dogs barking, people sweeping the floor, music being played, and the sound of construction. The area is lively and full of people, but what's unsettling is that when you walk inside your apartment building, you can hear people fighting. A man and a woman, presumably a couple, can be heard shouting at each other in one of the apartments. The sounds are muffled, but you can hear banging and things being violently moved around. It's disturbing, but that's not what has creeped out players. If you listen carefully, all the way in the distance, you can hear a baby crying. This is known as the Ghost Baby in the Sleeping Dogs community. According to Care, there is a rumor that in one of the game's missions, a baby was killed, and it now haunts this area. You don't see the baby's death in the game, and I couldn't find any reports of something happening to a baby in any of the missions, but nonetheless, the baby's cries have creeped out players since it has an eerie echo to it. One YouTube commenter named Isaac Ivalis says that they heard the baby crying, but then heard wood creaking, followed by the sound of wood falling down. Meanwhile, another YouTube user named Professor Genki claims to have seen the baby next to the ghostly apparition of one of the game's characters, Winston Chu. There's an Easter egg where you can actually see the ghosts of Chu and another character, Jackie Ma, in a restaurant. So if ghosts exist in the world of sleeping dogs, then maybe there's a ghost baby as well. Theories about the baby range from it being abandoned to it belonging to the aforementioned fighting couple. Perhaps the latter is the reason why the baby is crying, or maybe the couple killed the baby, which is why they're fighting. But the baby doesn't sound like it's coming from inside the apartment. You can't enter any of the apartments except yours, and the location of the baby's cries is uncertain, as it can be heard inside and outside of your apartment building. Some even say that it can be heard in other areas of the game, like Night Market, or in a small restaurant north of Night Market. It can't, however, be heard inside your own apartment, and some noises like the couple shouting will randomly disappear from time to time.
Johnny, he told Dog Eyes he wasn't going to pay, and they hit him in the other eye. Never pays to get.
If you look outside, there are many apartment buildings, and some people can be seen standing around, even on the balconies above. However, there's no baby in sight. So the question is there really a ghost of an infant? Probably not. The crying baby is most likely background ambient noise to make the city feel alive and immersive. The reason why it can be heard here is probably because this is one of the first areas you visit in the game, and so the game's developers wanted to immerse you into the world as much as possible. And the echo of the baby's cries is most likely due to the baby being far away. When a sound is heard from a distance, it will naturally have an echo to it. An example of this can be heard with the aforementioned music and construction sounds. Maybe the crying baby is in a hallway or inside an apartment that has a window open, but most likely, there isn't even a baby character model in the area. The crying baby is just a random sound effect that the developers used, nothing more. If the baby is a reference to something, then it's unknown what it's referencing.